The budget has given a new push to nuclear energy, a big boost to atomic energy by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. I have with me Dr. Anil Kakodkar. Dr. Kakodkar is former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission and somebody who led from the front this Indo-US civilian nuclear deal, which opened the gates for whatever is being tried now. Thanks a lot for speaking to me, Dr. Kakodkar.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure listening to you on anything nuclear and technology. What is your first reaction on mission Viksit Bharat and nuclear energy being put together?
Well, I'm very glad that the inevitable role of nuclear energy for realizing Viksit Bharat with the net zero constraint which arises from the climate change threat has been recognized, has been realized, and plans are being made to move in that direction. The plans, I think, are necessary. In fact, we need to go much beyond the current ambition.
So you think the target of 100 gigawatts of installed nuclear capacity by 27 is falling short?
Well, in the sense you want to be Viksit Bharat by 2047 and you want to meet all the requirements to support that kind of quality of life. The total energy that one would require is much larger. However, having said that, realizing 100 gigawatt by 2047 is also not easy. And so implementing such massive programs would require a lot of implementation framework, credible implementation framework to be put in place.
It almost seems like 6,000 megawatts of installed nuclear every year for the next.
Yes, that's an average. Usually it picks up and then peaks up. So, but yeah, you're right. Average deployment rate will be of that order.
And we've done only close to 8,000 megawatts in over 5 decades.
So, yes, but even if you take the largest reactor, say 700 megawatt PHWR, doing 5,000 a year would mean commissioning 7 reactors every year on an average, which is a very ambitious target. And I won't say it's not realizable because countries have, for example, France ramped up its PWR capacity in a reasonably short time. China has been doing that, they have done it. So and I'm glad Honorable Finance Minister has used the term, she has described this as a nuclear mission. So it requires to be taken up as a national mission and deploy multiple agencies, right policies in place.
She has also indicated that we need to amend the Atomic Energy Act and the Nuclear Damage Act. You were involved very thickly with the Indo-US civilian nuclear deal. Do you think both those acts needs to be amended?
Well, it's like this. When it comes to very large-scale deployment, we would require investments of a very large order. And that would mean bringing in investments outside the government budgetary support. So, and I think we'll have to look for all opportunities for those investments. So we begin with the government PSUs in the energy domain. They have significant capacity to invest. So one should begin with that. Unfortunately, the current Atomic Energy Act, it sort of does not allow any private sector. That was not the intention. Intention has been that 51% should be the public money, 49% could be private money. So at least it's a minor change that you bring in private sector in a minority role to begin with. That could bring in substantial investment. But this is only one part of the story. There is another part of the story is that after about 25 gigawatts installed capacity, the demand for uranium from global market would become quite large. In fact,
By India?
By India. It may well exceed 8-10% of the total world production currently. Now, that will make access to uranium in once through mode very difficult, if not impossible. And then the change that one has to do is to recycle. And India has been pursuing the policy of nuclear recycle. Reprocessing, refabricate the fuel. But we'll have to deploy that on a large scale. And that has a lot of connotation in terms of the security of nuclear material. You must make sure that there are no concerns in the domain of nuclear proliferation for malevolent purposes.
Let me just stop here and ask you, do you think the Nuclear Civil Liability Damage Act also needs to be changed, and do we need to do it in a kind of a knee-jerk, very quick reaction where the Prime Minister is likely to go to Washington, let's do it before that?
Well, nothing should be done in knee-jerk, but the Nuclear Liability Act has been passed by our Parliament. I think, to me, the major issue is, one is to kind of create protection to industries which are involved in nuclear business. And the other is to protect people who get affected by if an unfortunate accident were to take place. And both are, of course, important. But legally, which gets the kind of, I wouldn't use the word primacy, but that is where those changes in words which took place, which were introduced essentially during a parliamentary debate. So, I think if you look at it purely from a philosophical angle, I would tend to give primacy to protecting people. Whereas, and then of course, the question of protecting industry is of course important. But I'm sure one can find ways around, just as we have found way around the indigenous reactors. There has been a way around. The Russian reactors are under construction now, so there has been a way around. So I think one should find a pragmatic way around.
We'll talk about that in a little detail. The other thing which the finance minister spoke about was earmarking 20,000 crores for small and modular reactors. First, tell our viewers what is very quickly, what is a small and modular reactor, and can we make 5? I don't think there's even one ready in the world.
Well, typically, these definitions are not hard and fast. They are flexibly being used. But typically, small reactor means a reactor which is less than 300 megawatt capacity. Modularity is a way to getting reactors done expeditiously at somewhat lower cost and things of that kind. But for example, as you correctly said, there are no SMRs around, although there are 70, 80 designs.
Correct.
But on the other hand, we have dozens of 220 megawatt
Correct.
PHWR unit. So I would say while there are no SMRs around, India has the largest experience of, and a very robust,
Correct.
economically competitive design in practice. So I think it makes sense to take that and move forward. We had, for example, some time back worked on a 300 megawatt advanced heavy water reactor. It had gone through a lot of experimentation, safety qualification. That also is an SMR. So there are SMRs and SMRs. So to me, SMR should be one which will not cause any impact in public domain. And particularly, there's going to be a lot of retiring coal plants in the country. And these old sites, the population has come almost at the plant boundary. But these are important brownfield opportunities. Finding sites is not so easy.
Yes.
And if we can locate an SMR, which is so safe that there will be no requirement of an exclusion distance, no emergency protection, no evacuation of people. So if you have a design which can meet that requirement, that is the kind of SMR that we should build and locate it preferentially at sites vacated by retiring coal plants. And it will fulfill an important need. Although the large capacity has to be necessarily through the larger reactors, the 700 megawatt PHWR.
So you are welcoming what the finance minister has said is
Absolutely.
the essence, but with certain hesitation about certain specific aspects. Is that what am I understanding?
No, I have not even hesitation. I am saying, see, because everything you do is a contribution. Now, you want to achieve the aspiration of Viksit Bharat in a given time, then I'm saying you require certain capacity. So compared to that, that gap is between where we are and that capacity is a huge gap. 100 gigawatt by 2047 is very much a step in that direction, while it is way short of that other requirement, but doing even that within this time, we will have to prepare ourselves quite well. Implementation framework has to be very carefully designed and built. And also, as I said, I want to come back to what I was telling earlier. You won't get uranium for running all these reactors. So you have to perforce resort to nuclear recycle, and that in turn means because we have a lot of thorium. We're the world's largest custodian of thorium. So it's time for us to really start using thorium, which was the very old long-term target of the department. And if you do that, then you can kind of support this kind of capacity. So, and that means now, on one side you are saying you have to go to closed fuel cycle, other side you are talking about private sector participation. Now the two don't go hand in hand because there is a security issue. So looking at the amendment to act and all again is necessary, but one has to look at it very carefully.
So long-term view, don't do the amendment to the act in a knee-jerk reaction and move forward. Is that
it has to be. You have to take a step, see how it works, take next steps. Like that, it has to go, and it's a time-consuming process. But as I said, we could do these changes also because it's not as if all the money is required right now.
Correct.
You require it in steps, so you can synchronize the two together.
Thanks a lot for speaking to me, Dr. Kakodkar.
Thank you.
Your vision, your understanding of nuclear has always helped the country. Like Dr. Manmohan Singh once said, you saved India. I think that moment has come once again in India. So that was Dr.
Thank you.
So that was Dr. Anil Kakodkar telling us about this nuclear mission which Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced. I can well say it is probably that Parmanu Yan moment for India, where India ramps up from close to 8,000 megawatts of installed nuclear capacity going up to 100 gigawatts, a very ambitious target. A truly a Parmanu Yan moment for India. In New Delhi, Pallava Bagla for NDTV.